The bride stares in shock as the millionaire picks a mysterious date for her wedding. The grand hall was a symphony of perfection. Crystal chandeliers sparkled like stars overhead, and the air smelled of fresh roses and a hint of vanilla. Olivia stood before the mirror, her fingers trembling as they smoothed the satin of her gown. This was it, the moment every little girl dreamed of. She was about to marry Jack, her affluent fiancé, in a wedding so lavish it would be talked about for years. But that perfect fairy tale was about to shatter. A sudden hush fell over the crowd as Jack stepped into the room. He looked dashing in his tailored suit, confident with that charming smile she had fallen for. But instead of walking toward her, Jack's eyes caught on the woman standing in the back. A tall figure with red hair that flowed like molten copper and a dress the color of midnight sky. Confusion battered Olivia like waves. Guests exchanged glances, brows furrowing in intrigue while Olivia's pulse echoed in her ears. Was Jack seriously bringing someone else to their wedding? "Is that what?" one of the wedding planners gasped, while another added, "I didn't know he was seeing anyone else." A knot formed in Olivia's stomach. The tightness made it hard to breathe. She fought to stay calm, clenching her fists against the soft fabric of her gown. Jack approached the mysterious woman, laughter spilling from his lips. Was that a flirtatious spark in his eye? Olivia's heart raced, the sounds of clinking glasses and rising chatter around her fading into oblivion. It felt as though the floor had opened underneath her, leaving her dangling in midair. "Who is she?" Olivia whispered to herself, her voice barely audible over the cacophony. Just then, a family secret flickered through her mind like a haunting shadow. Her mother's hushed conversations, the cryptic glances exchanged with relatives, rumors about. Was there something she didn't know? Before she could pose a question, the mysterious woman turned toward Olivia, her piercing gaze locking onto hers. A shiver ran down Olivia's spine as recognition flickered in her mind. This was not an ordinary guest. There was a depth about her presence, an undeniable strength that made Olivia feel small and vulnerable. "Olivia, darling," Jack called, his voice drawing her back to reality. "Come meet Elise." "Elise?" The name rolled off his tongue like silk. Olivia's heart sank deeper. The guests gathered, their curiosity palpable, eyes lighting up with the drama unfolding. In that moment, everything felt surreal and utterly broken. Did Jack still love her? Or was their relationship a facade, cracking under the weight of secrets? She could feel every gaze piercing her, each one a reminder that she was trapped in a gilded cage, caught between societal expectations and her deep yearning for real love. Just when she thought she might crumble, Elise smiled, a warm, inviting smile that cracked through the tension. Was this woman a threat or a lifeline? Breathless with confusion, Olivia made her way forward, ready to confront the unexpected truth. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who is part of this comm." Jack's eyes sparkled with excitement as he introduced the woman whose presence had shattered her perfect day. "Olivia, this is Elise," Jack said, oblivious to the storm brewing inside Olivia. The crowd murmured, eyes darting between the three of them, electric with anticipation. Elise extended a hand, her smile warm but enigmatic. "It's so wonderful to finally meet you, Olivia. I've heard so much about you," she said, her voice smooth as silk. Yet there was something unsettling in her tone. Olivia took her hand hesitantly, feeling the coolness of Elise's grip as if it were a warning. "Jack, why is she here?" Olivia's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. The laughter from before hung awkwardly in the air, the cheerful chatter fading into nothingness. Guests leaned in closer, their expressions a mix of curiosity and confusion, as if they were about to witness a grand reveal. Before Jack could answer, the lights flickered, casting shadows on the walls. A sudden chill swept Olivia. "Stop the wedding!" he shouted, his voice slicing through the air like glass. Gasps echoed around the hall. All heads turned. "What are you talking about?" Jack's face hardened, eyes narrowing with annoyance. But the intruder pressed on, his breath coming in quick bursts. "Olivia, you need to listen to me. Jack isn't who you think he is." The crowd gasped again, unsure of what was unfolding before them. "No, no, no!" Olivia's heart raced faster. She felt as if she might burst. Jack stepped forward, trying to dismiss the man. But the interruption had set off a chain reaction. "Jack is deeply involved in a financial scandal that could ruin you," the man continued, his voice rising. "He's been hiding it from you. Elise isn't just a guest. She was brought here to make sure you didn't find out." Olivia felt the tentacles of betrayal wrap around her heart. Jack's charm didn't seem as solid now. He gritted his teeth, clearly irritated. "None of this is true. I don't know who you are, but you're trying to ruin everything." "Is it true, Jack?" Olivia's voice wavered, filled with an anguish she couldn't hide. The weight of his gaze bore down on her, but his confident demeanor faltered. "Olivia, please," he started, but his tone failed to convince her. The crowd was buzzing, whispering frantically. She could hear snippets of conversations, some sympathetic, some excited, all judgmental. Elise remained silent, the smile still on her face, but an edge of something darker lurked behind her eyes. Olivia's gaze shifted from Jack to the stranger. "Why should I believe any of this?" she demanded, feeling anger surge through her. "What proof do you have?" But just then, a loud bang echoed through the hall, as if the universe itself was echoing the chaos in her heart. The chandelier above trembled, sending small crystals scattering to the floor. Elise took a small step back, eyes widening. "What was that?" she whispered, completely losing her calm demeanor. For the first time, she looked afraid. Jack moved closer to Olivia, desperation creeping into his voice. "This is all a misunderstanding. Just give me a moment to explain." But another bang, this one louder, sent a jolt through the crowd. The lights flickered ominously, and the room fell suddenly silent, every breath caught in a collective gasp. Olivia's heart raced. Was this just the beginning? "What's happening?" she asked, fear creeping in like a shadow. Just then, a figure appeared in the doorway again, silhouetted against the bright light. Olivia's breath locked in her throat as they stepped forward, revealing themselves. The world around her began to blur, her mind spiraling into confusion. She wasn't ready for what came next. It was a face she never expected to see. "Surprise," the voice crooned smoothly, dripping with false sweetness. "I think we need to talk." Olivia's heart dropped, the pieces of her fractured day falling further apart as she faced the person who would turn everything upside down. "Surprise," the voice crooned smoothly, dripping with false sweetness. "I think we need to talk." Olivia felt her breath hitch. The figure stepped into the light, revealing a face that sent a shockwave through her heart. It was Lucy, her older sister, the one she thought she had lost. Lucy's appearance alone staggered Olivia. She hadn't seen her in years, not since that fateful day when Lucy disappeared without a trace. But now, here, on the brink of Olivia's wedding, her sister stood, alive and unmoved by the chaos around them. "What? How?" Olivia stammered, her mind racing. She had thought of Lucy every day, the unanswered questions haunting her. But the shock of seeing her sister now, at the worst possible moment, was overwhelming. The crowd fell silent, uncertainty hanging in the air like heavy fog. Jack's eyes widened, disbelief washing over his face. "Lucy, is that really you?" His voice cracked, betrayal mixed with surprise. Before Olivia could respond, Lucy brushed past Jack, her focus solely on Olivia. "We need to talk now. It's important," Lucy urged, her voice urgent yet calm. "Important? You show up on my wedding day after years, and it's important?" Olivia felt anger bubbling up. Her chest tightened as memories of her sister flooded back. Happy times, laughter, then the agony of loss. "Where were you? Why did you leave?" "I didn't choose to leave," Lucy snapped, frustration breaking through her composed facade. "There's so much you don't know. About Jack, about why I had to go." "Enough." Jack's voice cut through the tension, his irritation palpable. "This is not the time for family reunions. Olivia, we have more pressing matters. This man and his claims—" "No, you listen," Lucy interjected, her voice fierce. "Everything he says is true. Jack is not who you think he is." The room erupted into whispers, shocked murmurs exchanging through the guests. Olivia had always trusted Jack. Desperation surged within her. "What are you saying?" she pleaded, her heart racing faster. "Years ago, I found something about Jack's family. He's involved in something deep and dangerous. I went into hiding. They were watching me, and it meant putting you in danger too." Lucy's gaze held a mixture of fear and determination. "I came back today because I knew he would try to trap you. You don't want to marry him. You can't." "You can't believe her!" Jack shouted, his facade of calm crumbling, tension rippling through the crowd. "She's lying! She left you, Olivia! Why trust someone who abandoned you?" But Olivia's world tilted again. Confusion and pain crashed over her like a tidal wave. "Lucy, is this true?" The vulnerability in her voice trembled, a taut wire ready to snap. Before Lucy could answer, a loud crash resounded from outside. The doors burst open again, revealing a frantic elderly woman, her face pale. "Olivia, you must leave now. It's not safe here." The hall erupted into chaos. Guests stood, eyes wide, fear tangible. Olivia felt the ground beneath her shake, her heart pounding, drowning in a sea of confusion. "Olivia, trust me!" Lucy yelled, desperation in her eyes. "We need to go, now!" But before Olivia could move, another figure stepped into the chaos, a man donning an expensive suit, face serene, but eyes cold. "There you are," he said to Lucy, voice smooth like silk, yet chilling. "You're in quite the predicament now, aren't you? I have plans for you both." Time froze. The air thickened. Confusion morphed into dread as the crowd held their breath. Who was this man? Every thread of Olivia's reality began to unravel. Her wedding, her love for Jack, and now a sister she thought she had lost forever, all hanging precariously in a web of danger. "Who are you?" Olivia's voice cut through the murmur of panic. The man leaned in slightly, a smile twisting his lips. "Oh, just someone who knows how to keep secrets. And believe me, Olivia, it's only going to get much worse from here." As panic surged through the hall once more, Olivia's heart raced. What secrets lay ahead? And what was truly at stake? She was right on the edge, and the ground beneath her was crumbling fast. Olivia's heart thundered in her chest as she stood frozen, staring at the man who had disrupted her wedding. The air thickened with tension, and whispers and gasps filled the hall like a bubbling pot ready to overflow. The man's smile faded, replaced by a stern gaze that cut through the chatter. Before anyone could react, he took a step forward, his eyes narrowing at Lucy. "You always were too curious for your own good," he said, his voice low and steady. "But you're too late, Lucy. This ends here." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, a collective understanding dawning that they were witnessing something far more dangerous than a wedding gone wrong. Olivia's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" It felt like a punch to her gut. Had Jack truly been hiding something so horrific? Or was this man just a cruel antagonist trying to break their moment apart? "Enough games," the man said, his gaze locking onto Olivia. "You're smarter than this, sweetheart. There are so many eyes on you today. You just don't know it yet." "Who are you?" Olivia managed to demand, anger flooding her voice, though her body quaked with uncertainty. "I'm the man who can ensure your life remains intact," he replied coolly. "And the man who watched while your sister dared to meddle with something she couldn't understand." Shock coursed through Olivia like ice. Meddle with what? She felt as if the ground beneath her feet was slipping away, the world around her a swirling tempest. With a menacing smile, he continued, "Jack's family isn't just affluent. They're entrenched in crime, and Lucy stumbled upon secrets that could endanger not only her, but everyone she cares about." His eyes flared as they swept over the guests surrounding them. "Including you." Jack shifted nervously, hands clenched at his sides. "This is ridiculous. Olivia, ignore him," he said, his voice wavering. But the strain in his words only diced the tension thicker, creating fissures in her trust. "Why should she?" Lucy snapped, her eyes blazing with determination. "You can't let him shove you back into ignorance. There's more at stake here than just you and Jack's perfect union." Another rumble from outside interrupted them, and Olivia felt her insides twist. "What's going on?" she whispered, panic creeping in. "It's just a storm," the man scoffed, but there was something in his voice, an edge of foreboding. "But it might not be the only storm brewing today." Before Olivia could process that ominous statement, Elise broke the silence that had settled over the crowd. "You can't let him intimidate you. Neither of you. There's so much we can do together," she pleaded, her warm smile turning fierce. Jack scoffed, a hint of irritation lacing his voice. "Why are you even defending this? She's a—" But his words hung unfinished in the air. And then it happened. Without warning, the lights flickered violently, plunging the hall into darkness. A scream rang out, cutting through the chaos. The sound of crashing glass shattered the moment, echoing like thunder. The crowd erupted into panic, guests scrambling for the exits, some falling to the ground in confusion. Olivia squinted into the dark, heart racing, adrenaline surging. She grasped for Lucy, afraid of losing her sister again, afraid of what the chaos might mean for them all. Then a sharp, blinding light pierced the darkness. It wasn't just the lights, but something else. It flared brightly, illuminating the figure of a man standing in the doorway. He was holding a device that glowed ominously, a shocking blend of awe and horror painting the faces of everyone in the room. "Everyone stay calm," he shouted, though his voice trembled slightly, a hint of fear bubbling beneath the surface. "This isn't over yet." Terror coiled around Olivia as she recognized him. The man from the photos Lucy had shown her, back when they believed their family was normal, when their— "Jason?" Olivia choked out, What are you doing here? He was the last person she expected today. A ghost of her past. The past that suddenly felt all too alive, too real. And as eyes turned towards him, Olivia wondered, did he hold the key to unraveling everything? The already trembling foundation of her world cracked further. In that instant, secrets and lies collided, threatening to pull her into the depths of a truth she wasn't prepared to face. The man's smile faded, replaced by a stern gaze that cut through the chatter. Before anyone could react, he took a step forward, his eyes narrowing at Lucy. "You always were too curious for your own good," he said, his voice low and steady. "But you're too late, Lucy. This ends here." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, a collective understanding dawning that they were witnessing something far more dangerous than a wedding gone wrong. Olivia's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" It felt like a punch to her gut. Had Jack truly been hiding something so horrific? Or was this man just a cruel antagonist trying to tear their moment apart? "Enough games," the man said, his gaze locking onto Olivia. "You're smarter than this, sweetheart. There are so many eyes on you today. You just don't know it yet." "Who are you?" Olivia managed to demand, anger flooding her voice, though her body quaked with uncertainty. "I'm the man who can ensure your life remains intact," he replied coolly. "And the man who watched while your sister dared to meddle with something she couldn't understand." His eyes flared as they swept over the guests surrounding them, including you. Jack shifted nervously, hands clenched at his sides. "This is ridiculous. Olivia, ignore him," he said, his voice wavering. But the strain in his words only intensified the tension, creating fissures in her trust. "Why should she?" Lucy snapped, her eyes blazing with determination. "You can't let him shove you back into ignorance. There's more at stake here than just you and Jack's perfect union." Another thunderous rumble from outside interrupted them, and Olivia felt her insides twist. "What's going on?" she whispered, panic creeping in. "It's just a storm," the man scoffed, but there was something in his voice, an edge of foreboding. But it might not be the only storm brewing today. Before Olivia could process that ominous statement, Elise broke the silence that had settled over the crowd. "You can't let him intimidate you, neither of you. There's so much we can do together," she pleaded, her warm smile turning fierce. Jack scoffed, a hint of irritation lacing his voice. "Why are you even defending this? She's a—" But his words hung unfinished in the air. And then it happened, without warning. The lights flickered violently, plunging the hall into darkness. A scream rang out, cutting through the chaos. The sound of crashing glass shattered the moment, echoing like thunder. The crowd erupted into panic, guests scrambling for the exits, some falling to the ground in confusion. Olivia felt the ground beneath her shake, her heart pounding, drowning in a sea of uncertainty. Then a sharp, blinding light pierced the darkness. It wasn't just the lights, but something else. It flared brightly, illuminating the figure of a man standing in the doorway. He was holding a device that glowed ominously, a shocking blend of awe and horror painting the faces of everyone in the room. "Everyone stay calm," he shouted, though his voice trembled slightly, a hint of fear bubbling beneath the surface. "This isn't over yet." Terror coiled around Olivia as she recognized him. The man from the photos Lucy had shown her, back when they believed their family was normal, when their lives were untouched by the dangers swirling around her now. "Jason?" Olivia choked out. "What are you doing here?" He was the last person she expected today, a ghost of her past, the past that suddenly felt all too alive, too real. And as eyes turned towards him, Olivia wondered, Did he hold the key to unraveling everything? The already trembling foundation of her world cracked further. In that instant, secrets and lies collided, threatening to pull her into the depths of a truth she wasn't prepared to face, leaving every relationship teetering on the brink of destruction. "Well, Olivia," Jason replied, his tone shifting into something darker. "It's time to find out just how deep the rabbit hole goes." A chill enveloped her. What did that mean? What lay ahead? Just then, the lights flickered back to life, bright and revealing. Olivia's heart sank to her stomach as she caught sight of something she thought she'd never see. Standing beside Jason was a woman she knew all too well. It was her mother, an abundant presence she had mourned for years, gone before. "Mom?" Olivia gasped, her mind spinning. "How? When?" Her mother waved a hand dismissively, that usual spark in her eyes. "Not now, sweetheart. There's no time to explain." "What do you mean?" Jack's voice suddenly rose, that familiar confidence shattering into shards. "This is impossible." The crowd erupted into a cacophony of disbelief as Olivia's heart raced. Everything she thought she knew crumbled like ancient ruins, the truth as hidden as the darkness outside. Secrets spun around, whispering of betrayals and lost time, and in that moment, Olivia felt the ground underfoot shift sharply. What truth was being unearthed? What had happened while they had all been living their lives blissfully unaware? "Trust me, Olivia. You need to listen to us," her mother urged, her voice firm and filled with urgency. Olivia stood at the edge of a chasm, unsure of what would happen next, and unable to look away from the swirling shadows of her own past. The world grew silent around her as she faced the unimaginable. Was her family forever transformed? What secrets lay buried beneath years of silence? And as everything around her twisted, she knew one thing: the real storm was only just beginning. Olivia stood at the edge of her own reality, staring at the surreal tableau in front of her. Her mother, alive, vibrant, and all too present. The crowd's whispers faded into a dull roar, a background hum of disbelief. She was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, every heartbeat echoing the chaos around her. "Everything is different now, sweetheart," her mother said, urgency edging her. "We can't waste time. You need to understand." But Olivia shook her head, confusion spiraling. "What do you mean, different?" She was fighting for clarity, for sanity. "You were gone, Mom. All these years." "Gone but not forgotten," her mother interjected, her voice cutting through the surrounding panic. "There are things you must know, secrets that have kept you safe, but might not anymore." "I don't understand." Olivia felt the ground beneath her shift, sharp like shards of glass, cutting through her heart. "What's happening? Why now?" Jack's face had paled, his usual confidence drained. "This is absurd, Olivia. These people," he gestured toward Jason and her mother, "they're lying." But Olivia's mind was racing. "You've been lying too, Jack," she blasted, her voice fiercer than she felt. "What don't I know about you?" The tension thickened, a tempest looming over them all. "It's not just Jack," Lucy interjected, stepping closer, her jaw set with determination. "Mom is here because there are forces at play that even she didn't see coming. It's about our family. The legacy." "Enough!" The man who had barged in with Jason spoke again, his voice cold and commanding. "This is a waste of time. Time you don't have. You want the truth?" He motioned sharply, making the crowd flinch. "Prepare yourselves." Before anyone could react, a low rumble echoed through the hall, shaking the chandeliers above. The ground beneath trembled, and a sudden blaring noise pierced through the air like a dagger, slicing through the confusion that enveloped them. Olivia gasped, her heart racing wildly as panic erupted once more. "Get out!" Someone screamed from the back of the hall. Then, in the midst of the chaos, the doors swung open again. But this time, it wasn't just anyone. A group of men in dark suits stormed in, eyes scanning the crowd like predators. They moved swiftly, authoritative, an unsettling calm in their demeanor, contrasted by the frenzy around them. "Jason!" one of them shouted. "We don't have time for this!" Jason's face paled as he took a step back, glancing nervously between Olivia and her mother. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured, his voice trembling. "What have you done?" "This isn't just about you," the man shouted, stepping closer, the authority dripping from his words. "The time is up. We need to contain this now." "What are you saying?" Olivia felt the world narrowing, tunnel vision setting in. The ominous presence of the men sent chills racing down her spine. She felt lost, trapped in a web of lies and fear. As another violent tremor rocked the hall, the man turned and shouted, "Activate the protocol!" Heart pounding, Olivia turned back to her mother, desperation clawing at her throat. "What do they want? Mom, please!" Before her mother could respond, in an instant the lights flickered again. They blazed brightly, illuminating the room as if revealing a hidden truth. Olivia saw Jack's face, pale and stricken, as he exchanged worried glances with Elise, something unspoken blending between them. Then came the shocking realization. The man who had shouted the order took a step forward, revealing a badge clipped to his jacket. "I'm with the agency," he stated, the weight of his words hitting like a crushing wave. "And we're here to bring everyone to safety. Jack, take her now." The implication dropped like a bomb. Bring everyone to safety. Olivia gasped, confusion spilling into terror. "What does that mean?" But before she could grasp the impending chaos, an ear-splitting noise erupted outside. Screams filled the air as shadows darted past the windows like lost souls. Her blood ran cold. "Go," Jason urged, grabbing Olivia's arm, pulling her toward the exit. "No, I won't go," she shouted, ripping away from him. Everything in her screamed to stay, to figure out what was happening. "We have to protect you." Her mother insisted, stepping beside her, fierce and unwavering despite the looming danger. But as the scene around her spiraled into further chaos, Olivia's heart lurched. The very fabric of her life was fraying, every thread unraveling. And in the cacophony, one thing settled deep in her gut. They had all underestimated the storm brewing above, and its eye was now directly on her. "Olivia!" Jack shouted. Desperation etched across his face, but the ground tremored again, and a stunning silence washed over the crowd as the lights fell dark once more, plunging them into shadows. "What have you done?" she whispered, fear-clouded eyes darting between familiar faces now twisted with secrets. And as cold breaths mingled with impending doom, Olivia knew exchanges would never be the same again. The paths were diverging, and as the darkness closed in, she braced for impact. Everything was about to change. Olivia felt a wave of darkness crash over her as the lights flickered off again. It was as if the world had plunged into a void, every breath thick with tension. Her heart raced, pounding like a drum in the eerie silence. "Mom! Jason!" she shouted, reaching out, but everything felt slippery, uncertain. The air crackled with electricity, the shadows pressing close. A low buzz hummed in her ears, drowning out everything else. She didn't know what was more terrifying, the strangers with their cold eyes closing in, or the thought of losing her family again. Suddenly, an ear-piercing scream shattered the silence. It came from the back of the hall. Olivia's head snapped toward the sound. The crowd flinched, eyes wide, bodies tensed. "What's happening?" she managed to whisper, panic creeping into her chest like icy fingers. Then she saw it. A figure stumbled from the shadows, pale and wavering, flanked by the agents. It was an elderly man, frail yet defiant. He pointed a shaky finger at Jack, voice trembling with anger and fear. You're a monster." The room went still, every gaze snapping to Jack. Shock painted the faces around her, confusion morphing into something darker. Jack's face, once full of confidence, paled visibly. "That's absurd! Get him out of here!" he shouted, his voice rising. But the old man stepped forward, trembling yet fiery. "You know what you did. You think you can just erase the truth? Enough!" one of the agents barked. The authority in his voice cracked like a whip, but tension still hung heavy. "Let me speak," the old man insisted, rage igniting in his eyes. "I know your family, Jack. I saw you. I saw the deals. I saw how you hurt people." The murmurs grew, rippling through the crowd like a storm gathering strength. Olivia stood frozen, trying to process the unfolding chaos. Jack's facade crumbled, the confident grin dropping from his face, leaving behind a mask of fear. "Stay back," he ordered, but the flicker in his voice betrayed him. No, Jack couldn't." Olivia's voice trembled, but doubt seeped through her urgency. She cast a glance at Lucy, who stood firm at her side, eyes aflame with unyielding resolve. The old man's accusation hung in the air, stinging sharp. "You hide behind your money, Jack, but I know your secrets. You will pay for what you've done." In that moment, everything shifted. The whispers in the crowd transformed into gasps of disbelief. Olivia's heart sank. More secrets? Were there layers to Jack she never even considered? "Stop it!" Jack shouted, anger boiling over. "You have no proof. You're mad!" But doubt coursed through Olivia, tightening around her heart like a vice. The old man's words felt heavy, wrapped in truth. "You're lying!" she cried, desperation clawing at her. And then, like a match thrown into gasoline, the chaos erupted. The lights flickered, and someone yelled, "Run!" In the flickering glow, Jason pushed Olivia back, urgency flooding his eyes. "We have to go! Now!" But before any of them could move, a loud crash pierced the air, echoing like a gunshot. The doors slammed shut, trapped them all inside. The old man lunged forward, and in an instant, everything became a blur. Jack turned, eyes blazing. "You're going to regret this!" Then something remarkable happened. With unimaginable speed, the old man lunged at Jack. A small metallic object clutched in his hand. Anger morphed into clarity on his face. "This isn't just your secret anymore." The object hit the floor, and in that moment, everything exploded into blinding light. A burst of sound sliced through the air, a roar that seemed to shake the very foundation beneath them. The hall vibrated, chaos consuming every space. Olivia felt her feet lift off the ground, an immense force pulling them toward the center of the maelstrom. And then, darkness enveloped her, pulling her down. Silence fell, a cavernous silence that swallowed every sound, every feeling. Time froze as Olivia plummeted into the unknown. And just as suddenly as it began, she awoke, sprawled on the cold ground. Waking up was disorienting. Confusion blurred her thoughts. Who was around her? What had just happened? "Olivia!" A voice, familiar yet distant, called out. She blinked, the lingering haze lifting to reveal a stark reality. Standing there, amidst the chaos, was someone she thought she'd lost forever. Her father. "What are you doing here?" Olivia gasped, questions rushing faster than her heartbeat. His face was strained, urgency etched into every line. "It's worse than we thought. We need to get out of here, all of us." What does that mean? We're not safe, not any of us. And as the weight of his words sank in, the daunting truth hit her. The past wasn't just haunting her. It was alive and here to take everything she thought she knew. "Where's Jack?" she asked, fear bubbling at the edges. But then she felt the earth tremble once more, and the shadows around them shifted. Everything was shifting. "Olivia," her father shouted, panic in his voice. "We have to move. Now!" Her breath caught. He knew. He knew things. And just like that, the truth hung in the air, thick and heavy, dangling just out of reach. It was all unraveling, each thread leading to more secrets, more chaos, each moment stretching into eternity as the clock ticked down, heartbeats racing toward an unknown end. Olivia looked at her father, desperation clawing at her heart. "What do you mean we're not safe?" "We have to keep moving," he insisted, urgency lacing his voice. Fear creased his brow as chaos swirled around them like a tempest. Olivia could see people stumbling, trying to find sense in the pandemonium. But where to go? She felt lost, swept into a torrent of confusion. Jason was still there, hovering, eyes darting nervously between her and her father. Something strong simmered beneath the surface. A bond forged through shared secrets, unspoken truths. A loud crash roared from somewhere behind them, shaking the very walls of the hall. The lights flickered again, then dimmed. Shadows danced menacingly around each other, and Olivia's heart raced. "What's happening?" she cried. "This could have all been avoided," her mother interjected, panic in her eyes. "We need to leave now." But Jack was still near, looking pale and shaken. "You think you can just come back and disrupt everything?" His voice cracked, the bravado slipping away to reveal fear. "This is madness. The madness is what you've hidden, Jack," her mother shot back, anger flashing. The tension was thick. Olivia felt trapped in a web of competing emotions: familial love, betrayal, fear. "Stop!" Olivia shouted, trying to quiet the storm inside. "Everyone just stop!" But her voice was drowned out as another blinding light erupted from the back of the hall. Everyone froze. The air crackled with anticipation. "What now?" Jason whispered, his voice barely audible. Then came the pounding of footsteps, heavy, urgent. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the light, a shadow of authority cutting through the chaos. It was a woman, tall and fierce, her features sharp and determined. Olivia squinted against the brightness. "Back away from Olivia," the woman commanded, stepping into full view. It was none other than the detective who had investigated Lucy's disappearance years ago. Officer Reynolds. "What are you doing here?" Jason scrunched his brows, disbelief written across his face. "They're here for you," Officer Reynolds said, matter-of-factly, pointing a finger at Jack. "We've been tracking you for years." "What do you mean by that?" Jack sputtered, disbelief and indignation flooding his tone. "Your family's not just wealthy. They're involved in something sinister. Money laundering, trafficking. You've been under surveillance," she said, voice steady. Silence fell like a thick curtain. Olivia felt the walls closing in. Her world, already fragile, was cracking wide open. Jack's expression morphed from anger to confusion and then desperation. "No, that's not how it is. I'm not like them," he exclaimed, taking a step back as if he could escape the weight of those words. But it was too late. The truth hung in the air, thick and suffocating. The crowd shifted restlessly, voices murmuring, eyes filled with shock. What Jack had hidden now took center stage. A monster unleashed. "Jack, is this true?" The words slipped from Olivia's lips before she could catch them. An icy grip formed around her heart, each beat echoing with disbelief. Suddenly, the hall shook again, flickering lights sending a sprawl of shadows across the room. Then came the crash. The ground beneath them buckled. A hole opened up beneath Jack, swallowing him whole. "No!" Olivia screamed, reaching out, but it was too late. He disappeared into darkness. The crowd froze, eyes wide, breathing shallow. Then a blinding light surged from the opening, illuminating everything. In that moment of piercing brightness, Olivia felt as if everything was illuminated. The secrets, the lies. And then it hit her. That wasn't just a hole. It was a portal. Realization crashed over her, enveloping like fog, wrapping around the truth she had been avoiding. "Jack!" she shouted again, but fear gripped her throat. "Go!" Officer Reynolds yelled. "We need to leave." "Leave? He just—" But before she could finish, a jaw-clenching screech cut through the air, as if caught midway between a scream and a cry for help. "Olivia," her father shouted, pulling her back toward the exit. "We have to go." She turned one last time, looking at the swirling chaos, and felt a sinking feeling. There was still so much she didn't understand, so many unanswered questions. And just as they reached the doors, everything crashed down around them. Shadows coalesced, glaring eyes watched, and the truth became unbearable. They were leaving, but where to? Answers loomed just out of reach like the horizon after a storm. And in the distance, the sound of faint laughter echoed, soft yet sinister, a promise that the story was far from over. Olivia looked at her father, fear and confusion intertwining like a tangled thread. "What do you mean we're not safe?" she asked, dread pooling in her stomach. "We need to move," he insisted, urgency coloring his voice as the chaos ramped up. She saw the fear etched on his face, a deep-line trench that told untold stories. "Leave? Wait, what about Jack?" Her heart raced. The portal. Was Jack gone for good? She couldn't swallow the reality. "Jack is not our priority," her father exclaimed, pulling her toward the door. His grip was fierce, but fear slithered through her veins like ice. She couldn't shake the image of Jack disappearing into darkness, those terrified eyes looking back at her. How could she just leave? "Olivia!" Officer Reynolds shouted, appearing beside them. "We have to go, now! Trust me!" "What about my mother?" Her voice trembled. Her mother was still here, anxiously scanning the room, her eyes wide with concern. "I'm right here," her mother reassured, but her tone was strained. "We need to regroup. We are not safe." Another crash echoed from the direction Jack had vanished. The noise sent the crowd into a frenzy, people pushing and shoving toward the exit. Panic was like an electric current, sparking fear in everyone's eyes. They'd lost the semblance of order. And then, just as Olivia turned to follow her parents, she felt a hand grab her wrist, a vice tighter than fear itself. She gasped and turned, meeting the cold, calculating gaze of the man who had burst in earlier. "You aren't going anywhere," he hissed, a dark smirk spreading across his face. "Let go of her!" her father shouted, moving to intervene. "Enough!" The man's voice boomed, cutting through the chaos, commanding the attention of the crowd. "You deserve to know what you are walking into." "What do you mean?" Olivia's heart raced, spit pooling in her mouth. "What does any of this have to do with me?" He leaned in, breath hot against her ear. "Everything. You're not just his fiancé. You're the key." Her breath caught, confusion mixing with dread. The key to what? But before he could answer, another figure stepped forward from the shadows. Familiar, yet unsettling. It was Elise, her smile from before replaced by a cold determination. "You really didn't know, did you?" "Know what?" Olivia felt an icy grip on her heart. "About your family. about what they've been doing, about the legacy you're tied to, Elise said, her voice low and dripping with the weight of secrets. Suddenly, all eyes turned toward Jack's collapsing figure as he emerged from the shadows behind them, looking disheveled and frantic. "No, don't listen to them," he shouted, his voice raw and shaky. "They're manipulating you." In the chaos, Olivia's mind raced. Jack, was this true? Or was he just trying to hold on to control as everything spiraled? "Olivia, you need to understand. You're more than just my future wife. You're the last piece of a puzzle that has kept us all afloat," Jack implored, taking a step closer. But his desperate plea felt more like a threat now. "Enough!" Officer Reynolds yelled, stepping forward. "This isn't a game. Jack's family is involved in something you can't even imagine. There are lives at stake." Tension thickened as uncertainty pooled around them. Conflicting loyalties tore at Olivia. But just then, the walls of the hall trembled, and the lights flickered ominously. A deafening roar echoed overhead, drowning out the crowd's murmurs, hearts pounding in sync with each tremor. "Look out!" someone screamed as the ceiling erupted, tiles raining down like feathers, chaos erupting anew. In that confusion, time seemed to freeze. Everything shifted. In one swift motion, the ground split open beneath them, swallowing Jack whole without a trace. Gasps filled the air, shadows swallowing everyone in a tunnel of panic. "No!" Olivia screamed, reaching out to where he'd been, but all that remained was darkness. But before she could process what was happening, a blinding light erupted again, an earthquake of brilliance that engulfed the entire hall. In that dazzling light, she felt a pull, a twist of fate dragging her into its grip. And then she was gone. The last thing she heard was a voice, a whisper that resonated deep within her. "You think you're the key? You have no idea who you truly are." Silence, a void, a revelation lingering just beyond the surface, holding tight to something that would shatter everything she believed. Olivia felt an overwhelming wave of darkness crash over her, the world pulling her into a void. She could no longer hear the chaos around her, only the faint echo of her own heartbeat, thumping louder as she spiraled deeper. But just as suddenly as the silence enveloped her, she landed on solid ground, blinking rapidly against the oppressive light. The air was thick, charged with an energy that hummed through her body. She felt disoriented, as if waking from a long sleep. Faces swirled around her. Her mother's worried expression, Jason's anxious gaze, and the authoritative presence of Offic. "Olivia, listen to me," her mother urged, shaking her gently until focus pierced the haze. "You have to understand, it's all connected to your father." Her heart seized. "What do you mean?" A lump formed in her throat as fear twisted her stomach. "Your father isn't who you think he is," her mother said, her voice trembling with urgency. "We've kept the truth from you to protect you, but now it's time you knew." "What truth?" Panic bubbled in her chest. Before her mother could answer, a flicker of movement caught Olivia's eye. To her shock, Jack emerged from the shadows, disheveled but alive. "Olivia!" he called desperately, his voice holding both relief and fear. But he wasn't the only one in sight. The man from earlier, the one who had tried to take her, stepped in front of Jack, blocking his way. "This is not over yet. You can't keep running from what you are." "What?" Olivia's mind raced. "What do you mean?" The man took a step forward, his expression turning dark. "You've inherited a legacy that runs deeper than you know. Jack is part of it. But you—" His eyes glinted with something she couldn't understand. An explosion of sound interrupted their exchange. A cabinet broke free from the walls, things cascading to the ground with a crash. Officers shouted for everyone to evacuate, the building trembling beneath their feet. Then came the scream, raw and desperate, cutting through the noise. It was her mother, falling to the ground, gripping her chest. "No!" Olivia lunged forward, but Jason caught her arm. "Let her be." "What? Are you mad?" she spat, panic rising. "She's not what she seems," Jason shot back, eyes wide in disbelief. But before he could finish, everything shifted. Her mother staggered back, laughter breaking free from her lips, twisted and low. "You think you can control this? How naive." Olivia felt time stand still, cold dread settling in her bones. "Mom, what's happening?" "Your father wanted you to remain innocent. He thought he could shield you, but you are part of something much darker than you realize." As shock enveloped her, the room shook violently. Everyone stumbled. Jack reached for her, but the floor opened once more. This time, it chasmed wider, swallowing debris and shadows alike. "Mom, stop!" Olivia cried, the words tearing from her. But it was clear her mother was transformed, her voice now a phantom echo of malice mingled with laughter. Then, out of the darkness, a blinding light surged, a brilliant flash that left them all momentarily stunned. The man, now shrouded in that light, raised his hands. "Welcome to your destiny, Olivia." In that second, Olivia realized something so horrifying she could barely breathe. A truth that shattered everything she thought she knew. "You're not my real parents, are you?" she breathed out, the realization ripping through her. "Of course not," her mother said, the smile fixed but eerie. "You have a greater purpose, one that will change everything." The collective gasp from the crowd echoed behind her, the shockwaves rippling out across the room. Every fiber of Olivia's being felt raw, laid bare against a shocking reality. Her world crumbling around her, she stood on the edge of a precipice, staring into the unknown. "No!" she screamed, as darkness threatened to pull her under once more. And just like that, everything blurred, slipping through her fingers like sand. Uncertainty loomed, a cold hand gripping her heart as she realized they were all caught in a web far more intricate than they ever imagined. And she might just be the spider at its center.